Hi, this is Karon Leigh, and I'm the Artistic Director with Tubac Center of the Arts. And today I'm speaking with Isaac Wessel-Dudley, who currently has a photography exhibit in our studio gallery. And this particular exhibit opened on March 6th. He has 12 pieces of work in the show. 5 of those images sold during the opening reception, so yay. And the exhibit is called Leaving, Images from the Border. So Isaac, can you tell us about this project?
Yeah, thanks, Karen. It was a really exciting project to kind of take on, and it's funny how a project can change from when you're actually doing it to then looking back on it and thinking about it now. It has definitely kind of come into focus a little bit for me as to what this project really kind of means to me. Versus in the moment, which it was just kind of crazy and a lot to take in and kind of intense. And it seems like, after showing it to people in the gallery and everything, this has really crystallized into an exploration of who we are, what our identity is in relationship to our place and circumstance. And one of the central questions to me that I think has been really kind of a driver because of the theme, but just fascinating, is kind of how man's law can define identity. For example, in this case, right, the physical paper documentation of people coming and going from country to country, and the classification of illegal or quote unquote an invasion, right? How that can shape identities and perceptions. And so anyway, just to get into the project a little bit, it started in 2018 when kind of as a country we were all watching the Honduran migrant caravan come up from Central America, seeking asylum here in the United States. And at the time, I remember watching the media and being so conflicted because there's so many varying angles, so many different stories, perspectives about why they are traveling, who they are, what it's going to do to the country, what it means for this group of people to be seeking refuge. And so I felt really inspired seeing that, and I called a couple of my buddies. One of them is a fellow photographer, and another is a really passionate guy that likes to travel, and he was a great companion to do that with, and he's a native Spanish speaker, which was handy as well. And so we were able to go down to Tijuana and spend 5 days at a Honduran shelter there, and it was predominantly Hondurans. They had them divided somewhat based on their country of origin at these shelters, and it was a really outstanding experience. We were able to collect a bunch of backpack donations and sanitary donations to take with, and being able to hear people's stories about what has driven them to make this enormous change and walk the distance of multiple countries to chase a dream. And so it was inspiring and heartbreaking and emotional and captivating all at the same time. And it's been a really wonderful opportunity to be able to share that through the gallery. And so thank you for that, Karen.
You're welcome. Well, I remember when you came back from that first trip, and I don't think you had the idea that this was going to develop into an exhibit of your photography at a place like Tubac Center of the Arts. So then there was actually part 2 to your story. Do you want to elaborate on your next journey?
Right. So yeah, with you, Karen, we were able to take another trip to a shelter in Nogales, another shelter along the border, as well as a food bank, the El Comedor, which we were guided by the Samaritans, which was wonderful to see the work that they were doing and to be kind of brought into that network, to be able to take pictures and to be given the trust to try to document some of those stories. And so, yeah, and that helped kind of expand the concept of what this could be in my mind and what it is and why I was pursuing it, because it showed me that even though per se in Tijuana it was really crazy and things were chaotic, here in Nogales there are these groups that are doing such great things to try to help each other out and build it, and it's such a different story, and all of these different narratives that are along the border and the different ways that can shape an identity, and I think that the different situations and circumstances were very interesting to see side by side, and it was just so inspiring to see some of the work that was going on in Nogales there, with the groups.
Right, right. I know they inspire me as well. So, what would you like the viewer or the visitor to the Art Center who sees your exhibit, what would you like them to take away from that experience?
That's the big question, definitely. And what I would encourage everyone to think about is how they might find themselves in a situation that these folks are in, that are traveling across these countries to change their life. And I would challenge people to reflect in their own way, in their own life, on how they might react or find their own identity in the midst of something like that. And the fact that we're all pretty much the same, and we're struggling with these issues one at a time, and we're just trying to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, as you know, and why we're chatting via Zoom today is because we're in the midst of a closure and a pandemic, but the exhibit is still up at the Art Center, even though the Art Center is closed. And we probably won't open till June 1st, but I have posted all of the images from your exhibit onto our Facebook page, so people can go there and take a close-up look and experience it at least that way. So there are powerful stories, It's and I recall at the opening reception how engaged everyone was with the story, and they really, it was more than the image. There were also a few times after that, after you had gone home and headed north, that there were people that came in and they would just spend time, with the work and just experience that. And I think it's a very powerful show, and it's a great story. And I'm personally impressed when people can take their artwork to speak to something bigger than a pretty picture, right? So I think bringing that to the Art Center is an important thing to do. So thank you for participating in that.
Well, thanks for saying that, and yeah, thank you again for the opportunity. And if I could share one of the stories that
Yes.
a gentleman shared with me while I was down there. His name was Herman. He was sort of the volunteer leader for the shelter. Took it upon himself to try and create a system and maintain order and cleanliness. And one of his stories was that they lived, him and his family, there were many of them, and they all lived in the same house in the jungle in Honduras. and their roof was a tin roof, and it had holes, and it would leak every time it rains. And as you can imagine, in the rainforest, it rains a lot.
Right.
And they had an election, and one of the promises by this candidate was the campaign was called Un Techo Digno, which means a dignified roof. And the promise was that if this candidate would get elected, that the government would help provide a dignified roof for all of the citizens that, couldn't keep the rain out of their house. And so of course, this brought many people to vote for him, and he did take power. And according to this gentleman's testimony, the money never came. They never received any funding for their home improvements. No one ever got a new roof, and millions of dollars were poured into this campaign that were just sucked up by someone, some entity, some organization. And that's just one story among many that were shared with me, all very emotional. And still the hope, though, that each of these people had for something new and for new opportunity was equally as inspiring as, their stories were heartbreaking, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. It was heartbreaking. That's the power of art, to tell those heartbreaking stories. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for sharing your photography and your experience with me personally, and with, through the Art Center, and for everybody that watches this. So thank you, and blessings to you, my friend.
Thank you, Karon. Yeah, it's been a treat to be brought into the Art Center and to work with you on that project, and to share with everybody that was part of it. So thanks.
Okay, so everybody, please go to the Art Center's Facebook page to see images of this exhibit. It's Tubac Arts on Facebook. And see you soon. Take care.